exactly. You know, if you study the early church, when you realize that the Bible started out in an oral tradition in the New Testament, just like it did in the Old Testament, and that it wasn't, people had different parts of the Bible, but they didn't have the Bible as we think of it today until maybe 300 years later, until Athanasius put the first list together. And when he put the first list, that was the first time a list had appeared, you know. And we could talk about the Bible. I love the Bible and the history of the Bible. But later on, as I was going on my own spiritual journey, I had this awareness of what I needed to do. Well, my wife got cancer. She had breast cancer, and she had the one of the more worst kinds of strands. Fortunately, thank God, it was caught early, and she came through it and doing great and so forth. But in that time, I decided to retire so I could be with her. It was a hard year physically. It was a hard year emotionally, but it was a great year spiritually, because my wife and I had so much more time to grow together into oneness and support of each other. And I was praying. I started going to daily mass because I wasn't working anymore. So I was praying every day at daily mass. And I would say, God, tell me what to do. Because I had time on my hands. God, tell me what to do. And he wasn't saying anything. And one day, Deacon Jim Swiler gave the homily, and he talked about discernment and how all of us have a spirit, and God reaches out to that spirit within us with his own, you know, to touch and talk to us. So I thought about it. So Monday morning, I prayed, and I said, God, help me to decide what to do. Show me what you want so that I may follow you. And Wednesday, the pastor, Ken Borgenson, put his hand on my shoulder, like that scared me to death because I was so deep in the prayer. I mean, my heart must have went to about 1,000 miles an hour. And I went over to the office and said, Bill, you ever thought about becoming a deacon? I said, no, but I did. Then I went to Manresa. I'd been going there for about 8 years. It was a 3-day retreat run by the Jesuits, and we always had a Jesuit priest leading this silent retreat. And this particular year, a deacon was leading it, Deacon Buzzy Guyani, who would become my spiritual leader and facilitator and leader in the diaconate later. But he talked about service to God and what it's all about. And he answered every question I had in his presentations, which weren't about becoming a deacon, but he answered my questions. So I came home from that experience and I applied. And shortly thereafter, I went through a year of discernment. And my contention was, I didn't have to concern. I knew where God was calling me. But they had to discern if I was good enough to be a servant of God. Sure. You know, so we went there, and one of the things that was so great about the process was to determine what do you want to do and what are you being called to do. They're two different things. We've got a lot of people out there that are talking because they want to do something instead of actually being called to do it. You know, and it's a struggle. I was accepted into the diaconate, went through the formation, loved the guys I was with. What a great group of guys. But what was even more important was the women, because the women have to support you. You know, if you got a deacon with a wife that's not supportive, you got to have a deacon, because the woman has to support. We went through the whole process right before ordination. The storm hit, Katrina hit. We like to joke about it afterwards that they had to recycle us for another 6 months because we hadn't gotten the message yet. But we had. And eventually I got ordained, became a deacon. I was assigned to prison ministry in the Archdiocese of New Orleans. And for all deacons, you have two ministries. One is to serve in your parish and work in the sanctuary, be the person of the table, just like Stephen and Prochorus and all of those guys and Philip, and also to be in a social ministry, to work into some facility to help. Well, they assigned me to the Jefferson Parish Correctional Center, and I worked there for a while, and then eventually was made the director of prison apostolate in the Archdiocese, and I kind of coordinate all of the prison stuff, along with the people that work in the prison. Buzzy does Bridge House. We got another deacon that does Ozanami, and around the country, there are men serving, not because it's selfish, but serving because it's to serve God.